take us off. Go ahead, Mr.
Awesome.
Justin. Take it away.
Thanks everybody for stopping in. Today's webinar, Avoid a 100K Mistake with Hiring, hosted by MAPS coach, Monica Reynolds. Before I kick it over to them, I have 3 announcements. 1, please note that this meeting is being recorded. I will share the link in the chat momentarily to the MAPS YouTube channel, where the recording will be available within 24 hours. 2, currently everyone is on mute. However, we do value group participation. So we ask that if you have any questions for your coach, please type them in the chat box. And following the meeting, lastly, if you have any questions about today's call or any other coaching programs, please email us at fasttrack@kw.com. And that is FASTTRACK@kw.com. And that is all from me, Monica. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. All right, welcome everyone. So I've been in real estate when dinosaurs started walking around probably 44 years ago. I'm going to quit counting. I don't think it's important for me to know that anymore. It's too frightening. And so when you have dinosaurs walking around and you're hiring your first assistant, I've made a few mistakes. So we're going to get started on that, because when you look at this, how to avoid a $100,000 mistake when not hiring. So this is a number that, you know, when you think about when you hire someone, what it costs you in business, what it costs your time, what it costs in training, it's usually 3 times the salary, even if you just have them for a month or 2. It's extremely costly and frustrating. So let's go to the next slide, Stephanie. So my goal today is to give you an absolute sure, bulletproof way to slow down and to make sure that you absolutely hire the right person. So this is just a little bit about me. Of course, I look a little different now. We're gonna have to get a new photo. I hate that when people don't have a photo that matches anymore. You know, and so I've coached over 90,000 one-on-one calls. I wrote the books on assistants in the early 90s. I got thrown out of a Coldwell Banker office in the early 80s because I hired an assistant. And they said, oh my gosh, this is a liability. We can't do this. Now remember, I was doing as much business as all the Coldwell Banker agents in the office, and yet it was such a liability. So I'm a pioneer. I dug the well on assistants. I wrote the only books on teams and assistants at the time in the early 90s, and I've trained them top producing agents. So what you're going to hear today is 44 years of what to do and what not to do, and do not make these mistakes. I worked for Dave Ramsey for about 5 years, and some of you are familiar with him. I wrote a lot of programs for him. And so that was a great relationship also. I was a VP of MAPS, and I've stepped back. I had a 3-year commitment to Gary. I said, I'll do it for 3 years, and then I'm gonna get back to what I love, which is assistant training and helping agents go to the next level and build incredible businesses. All right, the next slide real quick, and you heard a little bit about this. And again, you will get all this information. And so you can watch a recording of the webinar, and you'll have all of the slides on there. So some of you might get frustrated if the slides go too fast. And any questions, you can go to fasttrack@kw.com or go to me first, Monica@monicareynolds.com. Happy to help. Okay, next slide, Stephanie. So let's get started on this. Let's figure this out. What the heck? So you want to hire an assistant, or you have an assistant. You're a realtor, you're selling houses. You are selling houses. And now you've hired someone. You are now a business owner with an employee. You got to think about compensation. You got to think about independent contractor versus non-independent. There's a lot you have to think about. You're a business owner. We'll get more into that. Why are you doing this? Why are you hiring an assistant? You're going to spend more time with this person than anybody in your world. And this person is going to help you build a business. Why are you doing this? You could stay a single agent and make a pretty good salary, make pretty good income. Everything's great. And then when you hire that hiree, that person now takes you into the business owner world. And now you have another person that you're responsible for and to. You heard that? For and to. So why are you hiring an assistant? You want time back. That's always a great thing. You want more money, your business to grow, and more money means business is growing. You're missing opportunities. You get frustrated. I remember the reason I hired someone, I was a single mom, divorced with 3 little kids, and I'm trying to figure out how to juggle everything, and all the plates spinning and things are falling, and people have listed houses, and I went, oh my gosh, they called me and I didn't call them back. And so if you've ever had that, There's a certain point when I was got into real estate, late 70s, early 80s, there was a point where I was doing 55, 60 transactions, no help, single mom. And I go, I can't do this anymore. The wheels are coming off. I'm fried. I'm hitting the wall. And I was more frustrated about the lack of customer service and experience I was doing. So why is your why? Mine was a necessity because I had the business and I didn't have the time. So when you look at the next part of it, when you want to build a business, you want a 5-year, 7-year, 10-year plan, or what's your exit strategy moving forward, because you have to build the systems. You've got to build the database. You've got to build a repeat and duplicatable business. Next slide, Miss Stephanie. Okay, so let's talk about the next step. The first step is you got to know your why. The second step, if you want to do this correctly and you want to avoid a mistake, and if you're on your second or your third hire of assistant, you still have to have a reserve account. And I would say a reserve account is going to be 2 to 3 months. Now, to be perfectly honest, I didn't have a reserve account when I hired an assistant. And I thought to myself, I'm going to hire this gal for 1 month. And if my life doesn't change, my business isn't better, I'm letting her go. I can afford the X amount that I paid her at the time. And nothing lost, nothing ventured, nothing gained. However, my business exploded that month, and the rest is history. That year with one assistant, I went to 110 transactions. The next year I had another assistant, I was at 150 plus. So I want you to hear the trajectory of your business when you are doing the right things. The right things are things that cause you to do lead follow-up, lead generation, go on appointments, and write contracts and role play. Those all have a dollar sign. So if I was going to look at your schedule today, here's a coaching question. Does your schedule support the goals? If I looked at your schedule, would I immediately know what your goals are by your schedule? So the assistant that you hire, that is going to be the secret weapon. That's the racehorse that's going to take you into the next level. So you got to have a reserve account, whatever you're comfortable with, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. Okay. Just do it. You feel better. Now, 2, you got to have a formal job description. You got to have a 30, 60, 90. You have to understand the pay that you're going to pay them. An independent contractor versus employee. Put any questions you have in the chat box. Now, an independent contractor, I would stay away from that. That can cause you some penalties with your state employment agencies in the state. It can cost you a penalty with the IRS if you get reported. An independent contractor is someone who doesn't have a job description. They don't come to the office at a certain time. They don't sit at a certain desk at the same time. And they definitely don't have any jobs or duties to do. So be very careful. I got caught by someone who was licensed who said, oh no, I'd rather just have a check. And then once I dismissed her, she took me to the California Employment Commission. That was really fun. It was a $35,000 little hiccup that I had to pay. Plus the IRS then looked at me on a couple of other things. It triggers a lot of fun things. And that's not my favorite thing to do, is to have the IRS come check me out. And I'm sure you feel the same way. So think about it. You got to prepare for that team member. What job do you want them to do? What are you going to let go? I just talked to a top producer today. And she's still going out there meeting the stager, and she has an assistant. She's still going out there meeting, people on the inspections. Why? That's not in the job description. That's not in your job description. Imagine what happens to your business when you lead generate, lead follow-up, go on appointments, and you also absolutely negotiate, write contracts, and you role play. Your business goes to the next level. Okay, next slide. What's number 3? So number 3, I want you to take a hard look at this one. Okay, finding the right people. So people say, oh, I just can't find anybody. Well, you gotta look in all of these areas. You can't just pick one, you pick them all. So just think about that. Now this ad I wrote, which was kind of funny, I wrote this in the 80s, and the MREA book came out in the 2000s. It's very similar to what's in the MREA book. I need to call Gary on that, huh? So you should be an organizer, a positive person, a good communicator, both written and verbal, have excellent computer skills, have a good sense of humor, be a fast learner with a quick mind, and be willing to work hard and smart. You'll work at a fast-paced real estate office. Now you can change some of that, but it's going to give you a blueprint. And that's what I do in all of my training classes. I give you blueprints for all the systems, all the playbooks that you're going to need. We offer an exciting atmosphere and a people-oriented business. I was talking to an assistant applicant for an agent the other day, checking her out for him. And she said, I don't like to be bored. I don't like to do the same thing over and over again. And I said, well, there's a little bit of that, but every day is different. It's called Reg, the real estate god. He will give you all kinds of curves to think about all day long. So you have to advertise in all of these places. You don't just go, well, I'll try Indeed.com. No, you're going to try the database. First, you have to have the right ad, and you can have a variation of all of these. You can even do a video on your Facebook. You can do a video to your database saying, thank you so much for the support you've given my team. We are growing. We need another new team member. Could you pass this on to anyone you think about who's wants a job and who wants a career in real estate? So database, you send out something to them. Your current clients, you're calling them or you're at an appointment. I've signed a listing. Gary Keller taught me this. As soon as the listing's signed, I go through a few things like price improvements coming up because that's the market. And the second thing I said, who do you know right now who's interested in a career in real estate? My team is growing. We've been so successful. Wow. You won't believe some of the answers that I've heard over the years when I ask that question. So your current clients, the buyers in your car, say, who you know wants a career in real estate? I've had the most interesting people I would have thought never would say, well, you know, I've been thinking about that. I'm going to get a payout out of my company. I'm in the software business and I'm going to real estate. I want to do investments. And had I not asked the question, I wouldn't have known, right? Vendors and affiliates. These people make money off of every single thing you do. And you should be using the same person over and over again as many times as you could. You find the right guy or gal, you use them. So here's the question you pose to them. Call them all day if you're looking for the right assistant. And you say, I know that we've been working well together this year. And I have a goal to help X amount of families more this year. And I'm going to do everything to give you that business. I need one thing from you. I need you to come up with 3 names by Monday of who you think would be a good fit for my team. Now they can have a job and I can call them and say, I've heard about them and I won't mention your name. Or I can mention your name. If they've been downsized, they have a different job than what you knew that they had. I'd be happy to call whoever. I need 3 names. So if you notice, I did not say, can you call me if you know someone? Can you think of anyone? Call me. I said, no, give me 3 names. Team members on your team, people in your market center, you know, in your office, in your brokerage, the broker, the team leader, ask them, who do you know? They get applicants all the time. And sometimes they have some previous applicants that they didn't hire for whatever reason. They might be a fit for you. Facebook, obviously, and Indeed.com. But remember, do them all. Take the time and do them all. So you're going to hear me on these 5 steps. Take your time. You're going to live with this person more than you live with anyone else. And you're going to see this person interact probably more than anyone else in your life. Because this is the person that supports your business. This is the person that supports your growth. And you will financially benefit when you hire the right person. Your clients will benefit tremendously with customer service when you hire the right person. Okay, next slide, Miss Stephanie. So, okay, we're taking our time now and we're going to go through the interview process. So once I get a resume back, obviously you're going to put the ad out, you get a resume. And I look at the resume and I divide it up into 3 piles. So this is a very, very comprehensive, you know, conversation today that will really help you understand the hiring process. So when you look at the resumes, I divided them up into 3 piles. One is Kentucky Fried Chicken. Nothing wrong with Kentucky Fried Chicken. It just means they have no admin experience. I went to college and paid my way through college with Kentucky Fried Chicken. Can't eat chicken anymore, by the way. Number 1, okay? Number 2 pile, admin experience. Number 3 pile, admin with real estate experience. Wow. Okay. So now I start looking at those piles. Who's at the top? Who do I need to call back and talk to? So I'll call them on a phone interview and I want to catch them. I want to catch them on the run. Why do I want to catch them on the run? Because I want to make sure that they can put 2 sentences together, that I can understand them, And then when I ask the first question, which is, I got your resume in front of me and I understand your job, history. Tell me a little bit about the last 2 years of your jobs. Tell me about the last 2 years. And if they go, well, I'll start here. No. This is already question mark, because I need you to think on your feet. I need to hear some energy in your voice. I need to hear some personality. Now, I've said to you, thank you for your resume. Do you have 5 minutes? I'd like to talk to you. If not, I can call you back. So I'm not interrupting them from making dinner with their kids or something. I'm calling them, okay, and saying, do I have permission to talk to you for 5 minutes? And I want to hear them think on their feet. Okay, once they answer the questions, I'll give the questions to you right now. You might want to write these down. Number one, tell me about your job history the last 2 years. What are you the best at in the administrative world? What are you the best at? And number three, what are you not so good at? Number four, describe your perfect job. What's your perfect job? Tell me about that. So, sorry, just what is your perfect job? And then I ask sometimes the fifth question, tell me about your hobbies. What do you like to do? So this gal yesterday that I was interviewing for this agent, she said she loved to do a couple of things that were kind of interesting. One was skydiving. So she's a risk taker, right? So I want you to hear that it's really important to know those kind of things. Just 1 second here. Sorry about that. Okay, so my sound's back on, right, Stephanie?
Yes.
Stephanie? Great.
Yes, it is.
I don't know what's happening to my throat all of a sudden. Okay, so the next step is I send them a KPA and a disc. And in that KPA and disc, I tell them, if you're with Keller Williams, it's Keller Personality Assessment. And obviously, we all know the disc. Some market centers have them. Some offices have them. Otherwise, you can get it online. If I like their answers, I say, great. The next step is I'm going to send you 2 tests. They will take a total of maybe an hour and a half. Today is Tuesday. Can I get them back by Friday at noon? Guess what happens at Friday at 12:01? Not interested. 12:15, not interested. They need to be back on timely, especially if they said they could do it. Now, if they email me and say, gosh, I'm sorry, something happened, I won't be able to get it back, then I understand that. But if they don't communicate with me that they need to extend the time, then that's a bad thing. KPA and a disc really tells who they are. If you're with Keller Williams, you understand there are 37 job matches. Make it match to an executive assistant. Make it match to a TC. Make it match to a listing manager. You can do several matches on there. Check that out. Now, once I get that back, then I will, let me go back. To be totally respectful, if you have a phone interview and you don't like the conversation, the way it went, how it sounded, we don't want to hire dead people on the phone for our clients, right? So I'll say, thank you so much for the time. I will let you know next week what we're deciding to do the next step. We'll just email them, call them and say, I'm sorry, we filled the position. Thank you so much. We'll keep your resume on file, and I move on. Now, the in-person interview, they will come into the office and they better be on time. In fact, they better be a few minutes early. They shouldn't be running in. I will look at their appearance. I will look at that they're respectful. Now in California, I've literally had people show up in shorts, flip-flops, and I'm going, no, I even know it's California. No, we're not going to do that. We're not doing that. So my interview process will be very short. So in the trainings that I do, I go through the 36 questions I ask if I like them. If I don't like them, then I don't keep going. If there's something that in my gut, and Gary calls gut give up thinking, right? GUT, give up thinking. However, I'm very clear that when I ask certain questions like, so how many people in your Facebook? I have 1,000. Great. Would you be willing to tell people that you're working here and help find business? Oh, no, I could never do that. I go, tell me why. No, I just don't feel comfortable. I could never do that. Well, tell me more. Well, one is my mom's a real estate agent. Oh, really? So any leads I get, I'd have to give to her. Okay. And so I ask another question. I'll say, thank you for coming in. I so appreciate you coming in. I'll let you know next week what we decided to do. Boom, you're out, done, right? That in-person interview is so critical, so critical. Career visioning. Now, if you're with Keller Williams, you've taken that course, you know how to validate it. And what I'm looking for, and if you're not, you can understand that I want to know the life story. So there's at least 3 interviews before I hire someone. And in the 3rd interview, which is really critical, there's a couple things. During the life story, I want to know exactly what happened in high school. How did they do? Was there anything interesting that happened? They'll say, oh, I was homecoming queen, or I did this, I was a track star, or I was on the football team, whatever it happened to be. I go, great, tell me what that experience was like. Oh, blah, blah. And then I'll say, what happened after high school? And then I said, okay, what job did you have? How much did you earn? I'm going to look at their trajectory of how much they earned and the jobs that they had. I am looking for victim and victor. And so on victim, one of the things that you have to hear is that when they're a victim, they're going to say something to the effect like, well, I got divorced, or this happened, and then this wasn't my fault, and this happened. And it's like victim, 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 victim. I'm looking for the guy or gal who said, this happened to me, and this is what I did. They rose from the ashes like a phoenix. I'm looking for that person. Okay. All right. Team interview. Now, the team interview. So if you have other admin or other buyer agents on your team, do not hire anyone that they do not get a chance to interview that person. You want a collective decision. Remember, this is a marriage. We're going to be with this person all day long. So we want to make sure that everybody understands the possibilities that this is the right hire. This is the right new family member. It is a family member. Now, some of you never test the skills when you hire someone. So for fun, put in the chat box. If you've hired someone, did you ever test their skills? Yes or no? Put in the chat box just for fun so I can see. Yes or no? Did you ever? Okay, no, okay. Brave souls that you are. Right. No, I wish I had. No kidding. I hired someone. I thought they could type. I think people could type, but they pecked. I mean, I thought they could put an Excel spreadsheet together. No. I thought they could do database. No. I thought, did it during the interview. Great. And so one of the interview processes, I'll have them say, okay, I'm going to show you the database that we use, and I'd like you to do some data entry. And then I'll say, which is really interesting, which is really important, I'll say to them, I'd like you to write out a couple of sentences for me. If I had you type an email for me, and I wanted you to say, it was great to hear from you. Now, I've literally had people type H-E-R-E. And I said to this person, I go, gosh, I don't think that's the right spelling of that word. Well, I use spell check. Well, really, their address is, and they will go T-H-E-R-E. Now, you may find that a little funny or interesting. However, you never want someone sending a client who's paying 6% of the value of their home to have typos and misspelled words. This is an important big deal. So you're going to test that. You've got sentences you can say, please write this out, type this out. And I want to hear, that I want to see how you type this out. Case study. Okay, I'll say, okay, here's a case study. And you guys can come up with a million of them. You have them happen to you all day long, right? And one of the case studies would say, client called and is angry because the sign in the lockbox didn't show up as promised. What would you say to them? I asked an assistant applicant yesterday for this agent what she would say and what she'd do. And she goes, well, first of all, I'd repeat and affirm what they said. I said, you'd repeat and affirm? No, that's like me teaching. I go, great. How'd you learn that? She goes, well, I have a degree in communications. I went, okay. All right, good. Degree in communication, you repeat, affirm. And then she say, I would isolate the problem, and then I would absolutely deliver a solution with a reasonable time frame. What? Unicorn? So I called the agent back and I said, that's a unicorn. Let's hire this gal. This is amazing. So give them some case studies to see if they can think on their feet, because you don't want to be the only problem solver on your team. You don't want to make the mistake of someone waiting around for you to tell them what to do, for them to not be able to move the business forward. There's too many people, too many assistants sometimes who are afraid to make a decision because you haven't allowed them to grow in the job, possibly, or they're just not going to have that personality. They're just too afraid they're going to make a mistake. You don't want to hire the timid. You don't want to hire the afraid. They're going to have to talk to people and protect their equity, protect their money, protect that file. It's critical. Critical you hire someone that has a strong personality that can speak and communicate. Okay, next slide, Stephanie. Okay, so taking a look at this one. Number 5. Now this is the tough one, okay? This is where you finally make the decision. So you have so you're going to set expectations with this person. You're going to go through this process and you're going to explain things very carefully before you give them a letter. And that letter would be a letter of employment, okay? So in that letter of employment, you attach the job description. Now, when I've gone through a job description, everyone, that doesn't mean that they absolutely understand everything on that job description. So in my training, my job description is 5 pages long. When you hire your second assistant, you're going to take pieces of that job description, and let's say you have a listing manager, and now you're going to have a TC. So you're pulling things off of that, but you have to have a job description. Now you don't have to write out how you do it, just the fact that they're going to process the listing, you know, with MLS. You're going to be able to crop the photos and add them to MLS. You know, you're going to put a pre-list package together. You're going to have the pre-list package deliver. You're going to confirm the appointment. You don't need to say how all that's done. You just need to say, these are the items that we will train you on. These are the items that we're going to expect. Put that job description together. The 30, 60, 90. Now, in my training, I go through that, and I wrote that for career visioning. The first 30 days, all you do is you teach them the phone, which is the cash register, and how to answer the phone. So I do 3 extensive calls on communication. I do 3 really, really strong calls on how to communicate with you, no matter what your personality style is. So that you guys, there's 2 reasons people get divorced and 2 reasons assistants leave. It's communication and money. And I can solve all of that during our training. So in the communication, in that 30, 60, 90, it's the first 30 days is the phone. The first 30 days is database. The first 30 days is listings. Now, you don't want to put the fire hose down their throat and say, okay, you get to have the TC work, the lead generation, the customer service, the database. Oh no, by the way, all the social media and all the marketing. And then we've got 1,000 pieces going out next week and all the client appreciation party. So these things get peppered in. The second month, once they've mastered all of that, they've got the database down, they've got the listings down. Now we're going to go into closings. Now this is when you have one assistant doing all of that. And then you go into closings and maybe one little piece of something and maybe lead generation. And that's it. The third month, 90 days, it's all the marketing, all the files, all the phones, all the systems, everything. They've been introduced to everything. Are they running at 100%? No, but they should be at 75, 80% for sure. And some things will be 100%. Some things will be still 75, 80%, but they at least have a way to get there. Independent contractor versus employee, you tell them why they should be an employee, and there's no negotiating on that. If you give them a job description, they're an employee. You give them a job description, you give them hours, they are an employee. And then you have to figure out too how you're going to pay them. So there's a lot of services like Paychecks that does it all for you. The accountants that you work with love it. Your bookkeepers love it because all the taxes are taken out. Everything's taken out. The stuff for the IRS is all taken out. Self-employment's all taken out. You don't have to worry about it. Get a monthly report, get a quarterly report, get a yearly report. Everybody's happy, nice and legal. So you have to think about those things. Downline and profit share. I tell every single person that I hire, this is not a cul-de-sac job. You have opportunity to build your downline also. And the assistants are the one, and some of you will hear me, I'm the champion of assistants. I understand the powerhouse that they are. I understand the secret weapon that they are, and that they interact with a lot more agents than you do. And I will teach the assistants on the call to say something to an agent who can't read an MLS form sometimes, and they call to find out about a listing, which is fine. And the assistant says, gosh, you know, thank you for your professionalism to find out about this listing. May I ask you a question? Keller Williams is on the move, you know, if you're with Keller Williams, and we would love to share with you an opportunity. to hear about the technology. We're the #1 franchise. We have the most agents. We have the most transactions. We have the most volume. Okay, would you love to hear about that for 5 minutes from our team leader? No obligation. And they say, sure. Now you just teed up the ball for the team leader, and they are looking for appointments all the time. All right. You know, when you look at personal wealth building, I think it is a fair thing to say to an assistant that you are in real estate, and one of the absolute highways to wealth is building wealth through real estate, and that you will help them understand that, and to help them, you know, if they're going to purchase a condo, a house, or whatever they're going to purchase, that you'll be there to guide them and you'll help them through that. Market Sitter trainings, there's usually some sort of training 2 or 3 times a week. The Perfect Real Estate Assistant class, now that's a class that I teach, that I've taught for years, and it gets changed and upgraded every single month practically, because real estate's changing. So right now we're going into a shift. So a lot of our conversations are a little bit different, preparing the seller for a little bit longer on the market, preparing them that the first offer is not going to be full price probably, and that they're not going to get multiple offers. So there's a lot of conversations and communications like that. And so there's a 450-page policy and procedures manual. I like to really call it a playbook. There's a playbook for social media. There's a playbook for hiring. There's a playbook for listings, a playbook for pendings. There's a playbook for customer service. So all of these different playbooks are plug and play. And a lot of you will take some of it, and some of you will go, okay, we'll get to that. We'll get to that. There's a lead generation playbook. So we've got all the playbooks built. And then there's a Millionaire Real Estate Team 2-day boot camp. So what I'm sharing with you is that you can hire an assistant, and then you can pour into them your training that you feel is important. And then I'm going to share with you that you guys go to different events. You go to learn. Please pour into it, make that investment in your assistant. They will turn into an excellent team member when you make those important investments. And so obviously the 2-day boot camp is coming up in December. Family reunion and mega camp, you know, obviously Keller Williams. Bring your assistant. There are classes for them. Attach them to your hip. Come and have fun with them. Come and learn and say, what you just hear? They might hear something you didn't hear, which is even more powerful, because then that allows you to go to the next level. All right, next slide, Stephanie. So put your questions in the chat box. I'll do my best to answer some. And so here's what I want you to consider. There is a Perfect Real Estate Assistant class. It's 6 months long. It starts October 12th. What a perfect time to get all the playbooks in play for 2023. Gary Keller said on stage at Mega Camp, if you take one class, take this class. And so this is for agents, it's for teams, it's for single agents. A lot of the class is single agents who are, because you're the assistant still, so you want the systems, and I understand that. There's 18 calls, 3 per month. They're 1 hour long. The first call is leadership call for agents only. I teach you how to be a great boss so that you don't have a lot of turnover and you make $100,000 mistakes. And I also teach you what I'm going to share with the assistants the next 2 weeks so that you can keep them on track. The manual is priceless that you receive. And every single week you'll get 30 to 50 pages. Now your investment is $199 for 6 months. Each month is $199. You go to mapscoaching.com/group. And if you sign up today, you can use the code WEB100 and save $100. So make sure you look at that. WEB100, you can save $100 off your first call. So I want to share something with you. I've been in real estate 44 years, and it was probably 5 years for sure before I hired my first assistant. My world changed, my life changed. The customers that I have, their world changed also, because I couldn't service them at the highest level, but the two of us could do it together. The assistant is the secret weapon. They will build the systems you need. They will build the playbooks you need. Real estate is duplicatable and scalable. There are no secrets to being a successful agent. It's just about building the systems that are duplicatable and scalable, and you staying in the dollar zone and not doing the admin work. So the most important thing you can do if you want to build a real estate career that can go to the next level is to hire an assistant. but you have to hire the right assistant, the right assistant. So let me look in here real quick. Well, you can get the playbooks from me on the perfect real estate assistant, okay? And would I recommend someone who is not licensed yet? I hire, great question, thank you, Bertha. I hire talent first. And then I say in that interview, will you consider getting licensed? And I'll share with you about that. You want to get someone with talent first, okay? And if they say yes to licensing, very rarely do they say no. I said, this is an asset for you. I will pay for you to get licensed. However, I will have you sign a document that says, if I don't have use of your license for 1 year, then you will owe me that money back, because you're leaving with a degree. You're leaving with an asset. You're leaving with a license. And so therefore you will pay me back if I don't get 1 year's use of that. So I recommend you hire talent first, okay? The link does not seem to be working. Okay, Justin, can you check on that? Okay, all right. Looks like Tate will get us, yes, that's right. That's right. Okay, a VA's assistant, the Philippines, if you use cyberbackers, a lot of them come to my classes. I've coached so many cyberbackers from and that's the VA system that Gary Keller recommends, and I do too. They're excellent. They're really well trained. Okay, so cyberbackers is what I would do. And you can hire different virtual assistants to do different things like social media, etc. Again, and I love cyberbackers, and I think they're a great, virtual's great. There's one problem with a virtual though, that they can never solve. I am a person that can come into the office, and maybe you're like that too. And you're going to come into the office and you're going to go, oh, I need a pre-list package. Oh gosh, the printer doesn't have paper. Oh gosh, I've got to do this. Oh, I got to print this off. I like Stephanie on this call. Hey, can you get me a file folder together? Can you get the pre-list package together? Can you do this? Can you do that? I like to delegate that because I like to stay in my lane of dollar producing activities. So I want you to hear that loud and clear. Now, all of these slides will be furnished so you can go back. There are templates in the Perfect Real Estate Assistant, and you will get the blueprints. Then you're going to tailor them for your business. And however, I train more agents than probably anyone in the country. I've either written the systems, I've borrowed them, there are no secrets, and I've tweaked them up. So there are no secrets. So I've had an opportunity to see some of the best systems in the world, and then I take it to the next level. Where can we find sample job descriptions? Okay, Rebecca, you can email me at monica@monicareynolds.com, and I will send you one job description. And then I'm going to say to you, please make the investment and get all of the other processes in the hiring process, all the interview questions. There's a couple of great other little techniques that when someone comes into the office of checking, to make sure that they're the right person for you. There's a push for cyberbackers. I never thought about this because that person can't run errands. What are your thoughts? If you need someone running your errands, yes. If you need someone who can, I would love to go into the office and say, oh my gosh, Stephanie, I just got this appointment as I was driving in. They want me over there at 4 o'clock, pull the pre-list package together, help me with the CMA. Okay, let's pull this, let's pull that. And you have to do it if you don't. So I think that the first hire that I would do seriously would be an in-house person, and then a cyberbacker as the backup. Or I would hire a cyberbacker part-time to do social media or something that you want to focus on. Okay. All right. Any other questions in there? I don't think I see any. Stephanie, do you? Did I miss anything?
I do not see any additional questions.
Okay. So I'm asking you
Monica.
to, yes,
It's
Kathy.
Kathy Nation. I'm in Georgia. I'm with Keller Williams. Is your first hire must be full-time, or is it a part-time position that I could move into full?
Yes, great question. You want to go, if you want to put the budget together, remember how I said get the reserves together? So here, Kathy, I'm going to coach you right now. So what's your average commission?
9,000.
Okay. If you hired someone in Georgia for 20 hours a week, would you, maybe the top of the scale might be $15 to get someone decent?
Probably 18.
Oh, 18. Okay. 20 hours, 18, $360. And that would be $14.40 a month, correct?
Yeah.
You would get 80 hours back. Do you think you'd get one more transaction?
That was great math. Thank you.
I know this math. I do it all the time for people to just kind of get over the edge. I remember I was a single mom with 3 kids and I did not want another mouth to feed. So I hired that person thinking to myself, we'll just see how this goes. Well, my business exploded because she was doing all the stuff that I was not very good at. I'm not good at crossing the T's or dotting the I's. I'm a triple D. I just like to move fast, and I need someone to clean up my messes behind me. I'm a great salesperson. I love people. I love in front of buyers and sellers. I know how to help them make the right decision to buy or to sell, right? And so I needed to get out of the file. So my question to you is, then I would make the commitment definitely for part-time, but make sure the person you're hiring has some bandwidth to expand that, because it's kind of like you get a little taste of it and you go, ooh, that was good. Well, could you come in a little extra hours? It looks like we could work on the database. It looks like we could work on the media, the social media. Let's work on the pre-list package. Let's download that from command and fix mine. And then all of a sudden it's, oh, we need to send this mailing out. Well, can you expand a few hours? So this is what's going to happen to you. Okay.
Thank you.
You bet. You bet. Anyone else have a question? Jump on.
Here's a question.
Yeah, Kevin, go.
Yeah, so I was just going to say, so I took the PREA class last year with you and I learned a lot. So I'm definitely going to join the one that starts October 12th, but this time we're joining with a new assistant that the team just recently hired. So if you have like any advice on kind of how to navigate 2 assistants, one that's returning to take the class and then the new one who's going to be taking it for the first time.
Yeah. And so thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. So if you have 2 assistants, 3 assistants, it's just one price. Now, your assistant coming back, hearing it the first time, there's some material changes because I'm always keeping up with the shift right now. We're doing the 12, tactic 12, bulletproof your transactions. So she will hear things that I told her last time, but she might not have heard it because her learning was at this level. Does that make sense? Now
Yeah.
she's coming back and goes, oh, I get that now. We need to do that. So when you're at this level after first class, then you hear it again, you go to this level, and then you hear it the 3rd time. So she's going to be coming in at a different level of hearing than your new assistant. And between the 2 of them, what I would do is I would have a meeting with both of them after the call. You're making this investment again, and I so appreciate that. We have a lot of people who do this a lot, and I appreciate that. I've got one guy that just is completely in the program all year long, whether he has a new assistant or not, he just puts them in there because he wants them to constantly be learning and saying, okay, what'd you learn? So here's your tip. As soon as the call is done, schedule in your schedule that you're going to spend 15 minutes and say, what was the one thing you took away that you're going to implement? What's the one thing you're going to implement? What did you hear? And so like the Friday report, making sure your assistants are both turning in the Friday report. And the Friday report, you guys will, I do a whole thing on communication really strong. They turn this into you. It's 5 things I did to move the business forward that week high, week low, and how'd you wow a customer? You will feel good at the end of the week. They feel good that they move the business forward. And I'm looking in that, the Friday report, that they understand that this business is about production and customer service. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, it does. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Lisa here, what list again are you looking for?
What you just said, the 5 things I did to move the business forward this week.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of have that internalized, huh? I learned this from Dave Ramsey. I'll give him credit for it. We had to turn this in every Friday. 5 things I did to move the business forward. Week high, week low. And the last one is, what did you do to wow a customer? That's a key one right there. That's a key one. Okay. So think about making the investment, whether you have an assistant or not. I promise you, and I know Kevin's on this call, you will get so much information. You won't be able to implement everything, but you will have all the blueprints. You will have a manual that you can go back and you can ask questions, or, go back and refer to and ask questions of your assistant or your new hire. At least you have a foundational thing to say, okay, let's talk about listings. I have a bulletproof listing system. I have a bulletproof listing system that should, if your assistant and you hold to this, that you will get 1 referral during that listing process. What? you will get one piece of business referral from that listing or that sale during the time together. And so I'm really clear about that. That's on the checklist. And I do a great job of getting them to understand they look for business. They are a profit center. They should not cost you money. You should have a 4 times return. David Baez. Yes, sir. What's your question?
Hey, Monica, I appreciate it. A quick question, because I actually had an interview today with the potential admin that we're about to hire, and we're actually going to be meeting them next week with our team leader to review their KPA. And just had a question about what you think about paying them or compensation as to per hour or a salary, and why.
Okay, so hear this. This is the most riveting conversation you're going to hear from me. Do not ever pay them a percentage of your business. Never, never, never. You're the entrepreneur. You're the independent contractor. You're the person that pays the bills no matter what happens. So don't do that. Okay, so now to answer your question, whatever state you're in, you have to understand the cost of living. So in California, you know, the average sales price in San Diego is over $900,000 for a house right now. So I can't pay someone, you know, $12 an hour or $10 an hour. Can't pay them really $15 an hour sometimes. So what you want to look at is in Louisiana is the different price point than California. So when I give something broad like that, David, is that you got to understand what is an administrative normal average in your office. And you can check with your office, your market center, ask your affiliates, what do they pay their admin, kind of get a feel for that. Now, yesterday, this assistant is coming in with some experience in real estate, and she's getting her license, and she's asking for $60,000 in Las Vegas. She's a unicorn. She's a builder. She's already built a couple of other things for an investment company. So she's worth it. So based on the experience, David, that's important. Now I'm going to share something with you. I'm a firm believer that you hire someone at a decent salary that allows them to pay their bills. And then after 30 days, 60, 90, whatever you decide, David, you then say, every single closing, you're going to make money. Now, I'd love to give you guys this advice. I never, ever, ever raise the salary. What? What I raise is the bonus. I want them to be excited that they are getting paid on every single closing. So Stephanie on this call got paid on the buyer closings, the seller closings, and she was excited when I walked in and said, oh my gosh, we had 4 listings go under contract. And she go, yes, instead of going, oh no, all this work. She's going, okay, this is good. This is good. And so you don't want to start out at $100 or $150 or $200 a closing. You start out small increments, like $25 or $50, depending on where you live. And then you say in 6 months, we'll look at that again. I wouldn't get past $150 at some point, but I wouldn't get them to $150 a closing until probably year 2 or so. It just depends on who they are. Do they have the shiny eyes? Are they leaning into the job? Are they building systems? Are they bringing in business? Now, David, I pay every single assistant who brings in business from their friends, family, past coworkers, 25% referral if they're licensed. If they're not licensed, I pay them a lesser bonus until they get licensed. So I'll say, David, till you get your license, you bring in a referral, you'll get a $500, 500,000 and below, 500,000 below, you'll get $1,000. If you get your license, you'll get 25%. So that keeps me legal. Now, did that answer a lot of your questions?
It certainly did. I appreciate it, Monica. And I'm going to have her, if everything goes good next week, we're going to be putting her in your course.
Good. Now, here's the other great news, David. It's recorded. And so if it doesn't go good, you're going to keep looking, and then our calls are recorded. They're live, and then they're recorded. And so 2 months after the class is over, they're still there for you too. So I always say, don't miss this opportunity. You know, don't wait, because it's hard to come in, slide in. You can always have the assistant, let's say she doesn't start till November 1. She can go back and listen to the 2 calls. And then of course you can listen to them also. I ask the agents to not be on call 2 and 3 with your assistant at the same time, because sometimes they will not communicate at a high level. But if your a single agent without an assistant, of course, you're welcome to all the calls. Anybody else have a question? Oh, Cecilia McCormick. Yes, ma'am. Question.
Hi. Thank you, Monica.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little bit similar to David in terms of, my virtual assistant, this is her, she's on her own for the first month before we have the old assistant training her, holding her hand. So I want to sign her up, but I'm still evaluating because she's virtual. This is my first virtual assistant. So if she doesn't work out during the program, what do we do?
Well, okay, so I'm going to have you do this, Cecilia. Sign up for the program and then drop out before the class starts. And then I'm going to give you another suggestion, give you two options, okay? I recommend that you sign up for the class.
Okay.
And if she doesn't work out, you still have the class and you're going to find out in the next couple of weeks or so if she's not working out, then you're going to go ahead and hire someone else right away. And so then therefore you're in the class, because I don't think I have another class until February. So you really want to make sure you get involved in that, because the classes are recorded. So let's say she didn't work out. Oh, that would be terrible. And let's say the classes start in October, you hire someone in December. You now have that person go back and listen to the calls and look at all the materials and give you the top 2 or 3 ideas out of each one. And because I paint the big picture. I go over listings, I go over pendings, I go over customer service, lead generation, expired, FSBO, packages, letters, emails, scripts, everything is there. Everything, numbers, goal setting, everything is there. So even if you don't hire someone again until December, they can go back and listen to the calls, and that way you can get up to speed for 2023. Does that make sense?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so you will have.
That's right. And Monica, I want to
Yeah.
tell him. Monica, I wanted to tell him too that the whole entire course is recorded, and you can still listen to it 60 days after the end of the course. So that's lots of time.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's like, I think it's or April and May, you get 2 months after March it's over or something, and you get 2 months after that. So the calls are live, they're recorded. You can go back and listen to them over and over again. And sometimes I recommend assistants go back a couple of times. The discount code is at the top of the page there. Sign up today using code WEB100 and save $100. Now, what I gave you today was a complete hiring process. And if you will take your time and take a deep breath and do it correctly. I have made the mistakes of hiring people on the spot. Do not hire family and friends if you can avoid it. Thanksgiving will never be the same. You can lose a friend. You can definitely cause problem in the family. Now, can it be worked out successfully? Yes, but that is extremely good communication. So hear me loud and clear. You know, when someone says to me, well, my husband's going to come in and be my admin. I go, great. How's your marriage? Do you want to stay married? Great. Who's the peacock? Meaning who's the boss? Who's in charge at home? Who's in charge of the office? Have you guys had that clear communication? So understand that this process that I gave you today, slow it down. I've pulled the trigger too fast, too many times. I was so excited and I got absolutely bamboozled in the end. I can't even tell you the mistakes I've made. And Stephanie on this call, I can share with you, I didn't hire her the first round. I hired somebody else who had the shiny eyes, who had the big glitzy conversation, had a glitzy background. And I said to Stephanie, gosh, Stephanie, you were great. And she was an assistant for Tim Woods, who happens to be in the MREA book. And I said, gosh, you got all the credentials. I'm sorry, this person has some other things that I was looking for. Well, that person lasted 2 weeks. I called Stephanie. I said, Stephanie, I apologize. If you're still looking for a job, I would love for you to come back and talk to me. I apologize. I absolutely made a mistake. And so that happens. So take your time and don't go down the shiny object that you see there and you go, wow, that looks great. Nah, take your time. Had I done her life story, I'd have realized she's a job jumper and there was reasons and she was a victim and all kinds of stuff. So take your time. Understand that this call was recorded. You guys can have access to it. Take your time. Get your systems in place. You're going to marry this person basically in the office. All right. Thank you, Stephanie. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate everybody's help today.
Everybody.
Justin? Anything else, Stephanie?
Nope, that'll do it. Monica, we'll be looking forward to seeing everybody during the class.
Can I
Okay.
ask one question?
All right. So wait a second. I saw something from Katie. I'm not letting that comment go. I paid for Priya and sent my assistant through it, but she didn't convert much out of it. I missed 2 of them. I need to go back through and engage. Didn't convert. Did you say we only get access for 2 months? Yes. Now, Katie, come off of mute. You can't write that without me asking you a few questions. Katie, are you off mute?
Okay, I'm off.
Okay, you can't write that without talking to me. Okay, so Katie, did you go to every call as a leader?
I did not.
Okay.
I went to the calls and that was it. So I
Okay.
do need to go back through personally.
Yeah, I promise if you did, then you can lock arms with this person because you will hear what I'm telling her to do. And then you can turn around and say, did you do that? Where's that? Because I'll say to you, okay, you need the Friday report, the listing